Before you can even get to the point where you're challenging Governor Abbott, you first have to win the Democratic primary.
Yes.
And your biggest contender, former Dallas County Sheriff Lupe Valdez, is seen as a favorite among some Democrats. What's your strategy in beating her?
There's 9 total candidates, and I'm not running really against any one of those particular candidates. I'm running my own campaign. I'm getting my message out across Texas, which is a message that says we want to bring sanity and reason back to government. We want our leaders to be data-driven and factual-driven, and we want to bring back hope to Texans. So that message is a message I think that resonates both with the Democratic primary and also in the general. Another thing that we're asking and we're letting people know is that when you pick a governor in the Democratic primary, you need to pick someone who's going to win in November. And I can beat Greg Abbott in November.
Why do you feel you're stronger and you are the person that would beat him over the other candidates in the primary?
Well, because of my experience, first of all. I have the ability, I have the heart, and I have the fight to beat Greg Abbott and to fight Donald Trump and all the extremism that's going on in our society today. It's a passion for me. I have the ability, I think, to go out there and do the hard work of raising money. It's going to take a lot of money, and that's not easy, and I'm committed to that. Ultimately, the message is that of somebody who wants to work with both sides. I'll work with any party, with any person who wants to make progress in our state. I'm against the us versus them philosophy where you just throw these verbal hand grenades at each other and you dig these foxholes and you just dig them deeper and deeper and deeper and you don't ever make any progress. So that message is one that I think resonates also with the statewide voters as well as the primary voters.
Perhaps one of the greatest challenges that you are facing in winning over some liberal Democrats is your stance on abortion. For people who are not familiar with your opinions and your values when it comes to that, tell us where you stand.
I actually don't think it's an issue at all. I believe that women should make their own health care decisions. I trust women. I support Roe v. Wade. It's the law of the land. It's been that way for 40 years, and I'll go one step further. When I'm elected governor, I'll veto any legislation that restricts a woman's right to choose. My personal views are just that. They're my personal views. But as a governor, that's the way I'll lead.
Are you comfortable sharing those personal views with us?
You know, it's a choice that I wouldn't have my wife and we wouldn't make. It's a choice that we wouldn't have our children make. But again, these are just personal views. The important thing is it's my choice. And that's a choice that I want other people to have too. It's their choice. And that's a choice I respect.
Your father really touched a lot of people and was widely known as the education governor. He was liked and respected by people on both sides of the aisle. How will you kind of compete with that legacy, or what will you do to stand out and not be in the shadows of your father?
Yeah, well, you know, he passed away 5 months ago and it's still fresh. I used to have a chip on my shoulder about being the governor's son, right? I used to not want to be known as, you know, he's just the governor's son. I spent my whole life that way until my father passed away. And now I want to be known as the governor's son because I'm proud of him. And so I would love to be in his shadow. I'll take it all day long. And he led in a way that took chances. He knew what was right for Texas. His favorite quote from Sam Houston is "do right and risk the consequences." And that's a powerful quote. And it's the style of leadership that I want to bring as well. Because our leaders should care more about our kids' education than their own re-election. I think for some reason, somehow, we've got off track. You know, politicians care about getting re-elected and not about anything else. And it should be the other way around. Your re-election should be, you know, something that you care less about because you care so much about education and healthcare and the things that matter. We don't have that today as much, and we certainly don't have it in the governor's office and the lieutenant governor's office.
When it comes to school finance, particular, and how it ties into property taxes as well as a host of other things, I think those are two of the biggest issues that if you ask Texans, if you go out and talk to homeowners, that's what they say they care about, their property taxes and the school finance system. Yep. Talk to me about your thoughts on how we address those issues.
So here's how it works. Education and healthcare make up 70% of the governor's budget. So he's responsible for education and healthcare in Texas. And in education, we're 43rd in the nation, which means he's failing at that. And in healthcare, I don't have to go, I don't tell you about how bad that is, right? We have the most uninsured people in the nation. We have more mothers dying in pregnancy than any other state in most other civilized nations. And so he's failing in that as well. For me, the changes that need to be made start, from everything as far as paying teachers more. We need to have a $5,000 teacher pay raise. It's a much needed pay raise. And I can pay for that by closing a $5 billion property tax loophole that only benefits commercial property owners. So these things are all connected to property taxes ultimately. The state's been shirking its duties in education and healthcare and forcing all of the requirements to fund those things onto the counties. And the counties have been having, obviously, to raise property taxes because of that. And so as part of fixing this problem, if you focus on the things that need to happen in education and in healthcare expanding Medicaid, for example, that takes a lot of pressure off of the county budgets. So, using more numbers, our state education, we used to pay 40 to 50% of our education budget at the state level on the education item, and now it's only 38%. So the state's going from high 40s to high 30s, and all that money just goes into the budget at the county, and they have to figure out ways to pay for it all. Commercial property owners are skyscraper owners primarily, and from what I can tell, a lot of those companies are owned by out-of-state REITs. So the homeowners have been paying their fair share for a long time, and it's just time for the skyscraper owners to step up.
Any final thoughts you would like to share with our viewers?
Well, you know what? I think it's time for a change. We've got leaders who don't believe in math. We have a governor who is focused on the fringe elements, the most extreme people in his party, and he's ignoring the needs of the 28 million Texans who live here. And so this campaign is all about bringing sanity and reason back to Texas so that people can have hope again.
Now, a few important dates for you. Early voting for the Texas primary runs February 20th until March 2nd. Election day is March 6th, and the last day to register to vote in the primary is February 5th. That's Texas This Week.